You can afford more boat than you think, but most people buy the wrong boat, and that costs them tens of thousands of dollars over time. And the real kicker is, it's usually when they got a good deal. I've owned anything from a 12-foot aluminum
We got the whole Ring family coming at you here. And
to a 32-foot bayliner and a 60-foot Hatteras. I'm here to tell you that I've made some good decisions, but I've made some expensive decisions.
all right, guys, we're sneaking around the new boat here, the Endurance, baby.
And here's the biggest mistake. Most people look at when they're buying a boat, if they can afford the purchase price, they can afford the boat. But they've got that backwards. So let's dive into this, baby. Most people start with boat, and then they move to cost. I'm going to say this is wrong. And really, you should think budget. So we're putting that budget first. And that budget's going to lead you to your boat. Now that, I'm going to say, that's a win. So let's make sure we highlight that. We got our budget, boat. That's the win. Yearly cost, comfort, is what matters. Boat cost is backwards. Okay, so this is going to look different for everybody. And that's going to really kind of come down into three tiers. And that first one is going to be, are you keeping the boat at a marina? Or is the boat on a trailer? Are we gas or diesel? And then another big one is, are we doing it ourselves? Are we DIYing it? Or are we calling the mechanic? Each one of these items is going to affect how you boat. Okay, so we're going to base this off averages. We're going to do this on 100 hours a year or a season. And then we're going to put in about $6 a gallon because now we're dealing with not just diesel, but gasoline as well. Okay, so we're going to go over a couple of different scenarios. Like I said, we've got our yearly cost based on 100 hours runtime a year. We're going to put fuel, gas, or diesel at $6 on average gallon. But let's now erase our three pillars, our marina or trailer, our gas or diesel, or do-it-yourself or mechanic. And let's start basing these on some fixed assumptions. So we're going to get a number on the board here. And that first number is going to be $10,000. Now, let's say you're in that 25 to 35 foot range. One of your biggest impacts is going to be fuel. So let's get this on the board. We're going to write fuel. And then again, we're going to base this fuel off 100 hours of runtime, about that $5 to $6 a gallon range. And that's going to put you at $4,000 to $5,000. That's 40 to 50% of your budget right off the bat. Now let's move to storage. Do you keep your boat at a marina? Or do you trailer? because this is going to be a big one. At a marina, you're looking at easily $4,000 to $6,000 to store that 25 to 35 foot boat. Now, if you're trailering a boat, you could get that cost down to almost nothing. Okay, now we have maintenance, and obviously there's different ways to go about dealing with maintenance. So let's get this one on the board, baby. So we got maintenance. Now, if you're doing it yourself, you're Mr. DIY, Miss DIY, then this is going to be significantly lower. But let's say you're using a marina mechanic. So you're using that mechanic, and that's roughly going to cost you $3,000 to $7,000. Okay, so we got all these numbers on the board. We've got our fuel on the board. Do we do marina or trailer? Are we doing the maintenance ourselves, or are we bringing in a mechanic? What does this all mean to you in your 25 to 35 foot boat? What it means is if you have a yearly comfort range of $10,000, this is where all this stuff starts to really come in. Okay, let's escalate things. Let's have some fun with this. We're going to take this $10,000 number. Again, this $10,000 number represents your yearly cost comfort range. And now let's move this $10,000 number that you're okay with spending every year in your boating budget, so to speak. Let's move that now from $10,000 to $20,000. So now we've got $20K that you're willing to spend in your yearly kind of cost comfort range. But things are going to change. Things are going to change for your fuel. Things are going to change for the marina and the trailer. And things are definitely going to change in terms of the maintenance. So let's look at that. So for our fuel, 10 to 20,000. So let's say now we're looking at a boat that's somewhere between 40 and 60 feet long. Now all of a sudden we're looking at $7K to $9K in fuel every year. What about the marina and the trailer? Let's look at that. Well, I don't know many people that trailer a 60-foot boat. So we're going to go ahead and put NA on that one, baby. What about the marina? That's easily going to run you $10K to $12K a year. Now we've got our maintenance. Are you a do-it-yourself mechanic? Or are you bringing in a marina mechanic? Obviously, if you're do-it-yourself mechanic, your costs are going to be lower. But if you're bringing in that marina mechanic, it's really important to note that when you get into these bigger boats, they have more complex systems. Autopilot, air conditioning, 4-zone air conditioning, stabilizers, all these different things that could easily put you in the maintenance range of $9K to $12K a year. Okay, so what seemed like a small jump up just turned into literally a $15,000 increase a year. And this is exactly where people start drifting into the wrong boat. Going bigger isn't just more money. It's an entirely different level of commitment. That's the part people don't fully see up front. So going bigger isn't just more money. It's more complex systems. It's how it's going to ultimately affect your real boating life. Okay, so now let's look at a totally different extreme. So let's clear the board here. We had our $20,000 price. We went over our $10,000 price. But I bet some people are out there asking, I want to go boating and I only want to spend $5,000 a year. Can I go boating and only spend $5,000 a year? We are in the Sea Swirl here today. So we're actually making it a family day here. Hello. And that's a great question because it really changes when you get into this animal. Chances are you can trailer this boat at $5,000 a year. That's a check. Your fuel is going to be significantly less at $5,000 a year. So we've got our 5K a year boat, or our 5K, what we're willing to spend every year in our boat. We don't have to spend a bunch in transporting or keeping it in a marina because we keep it on our trailer on the side of our house. So that's a low cost. That's a zero cost, baby. Our fuel's going to be substantially lower because maybe this is a 12-foot aluminum. Maybe this is like a 16-foot little ski boat. So again, your fuel's going to be substantially lower than it was when we were looking at that 25 to 35 foot or that 45 to 65 foot range. And this is where it really starts to drive home, because this is going to impact your everyday real use. And that's why I believe this is where most people should start. Now, that's not settling. That's just buying a boat that you're actually going to use. Okay, so now we've got our framework and we've broken it out into affordability tiers. Again, because we don't base what we can afford boating based on a purchase price. We're going to base it instead on what we can afford to spend every year. So that's our yearly comfort number, broken out into affordability tiers. 5K a year, small, simple, trailerable, no marina, do-it-yourself stuff. 10K a year, that's going to put you somewhere between that 25 to 35 foot range, baby. Now, what about if you're willing to spend $20,000 a year? That's going to put you somewhere between that 40 and 50 foot, or 40 and 60 foot range. Now, what if you got a little extra cash to burn, baby? 40K a year in yearly cost and maintenance? That's full yacht life, baby. So again, the size of the boat doesn't conclude what's affordable for you. It's going to be your yearly comfort number. Is your yearly comfort number $5,000 a year? Is it $10,000 a year? $20,000 a year? Or $40,000 a year? Because that's going to easily help you find within this framework whether you're going to go small and simple on a 12-foot aluminum. Maybe you're going to boost it up into like a 27-foot express. Maybe you're going big, baby, 40 feet. Or maybe you're living that full yacht life. So that brings us to the point that nobody talks about. If the boat budget doesn't match your life, it's going to completely affect your usability, potentially to the point where it sits at a dock. And that's how you can end up in the wrong boat, even if the boat and the purchase price looked right from the start. I've definitely been on both sides of this equation. So ultimately, guys, we got to get this off the board now, because we got to take this framework and we're going to simplify it. So before you figure out the boat, let's figure out your numbers first. So if you're thinking about buying a boat, or if you're thinking about buying a bigger boat, I put down a really simple, easy to use checklist that my wife and I and our family have used when we've gone from our 12-foot aluminum to our 27-foot Sea Ray to our 32-foot Bayliner and now our 60-foot Hatteras. This is a really simple, easy to use checklist to make sure that you get the right boat. Because again, it's going to start with that checklist. The wrong boat doesn't just cost you money, it costs you time on the water.
So if you are just about to buy a boat and it's somewhere in that 25-foot plus range, don't miss this video below, the 32 versus 60, where we do a deep dive into the numbers.